Sports Tonight analyst Richard Oliver joining us now. And Richard, we're getting closer and closer to the return of sports, and that includes the NBA. The latest news surrounding basketball being this bubble theory, that all these teams would come to one central site, the wide world of sports in Orlando, Florida. What are the benefits of this league picking up and the season returning in late July, presumably, in this one central location?
Well, I guess obviously the central location is you can control it. You can control the environment. So, as for these teams and for all the concern that's happening regarding the pandemic that we're going through, okay, so this is the safe way to do it. We've got you in one place. We have our protocols in place. We don't have to worry about you being scattered to 15 different sites around the country, those kind of things. But Jill, I tell you, it's an interesting dynamic because number one, obviously there's a lot of discussion about how would this work? Will it be 12 teams? Will it be just the 8 teams in the playoff seedings that are in effect right now in each conference? I suspect that they're going to bring all the teams back and try to squeeze in a 70-game regular season because that goes into TV contracts. Most TV contracts say you've got to play 70 games, and then so they've got to figure out some way to have this work out to where even those teams that are down like the Golden State Warriors who don't want to go back and play, who already have the number 1 seed or the best opportunity for the number 1 draft pick in the lottery, all those different kind of things. I tell you what, this is complicated because of the TV contracts, but also because what about teams like the Spurs who are, 4 games behind Memphis in the 12 seed, have a prayer of making a playoff run, but it would be very difficult in the last 15 games or so of a regular season to be able to make up 4 games against a team like that. It's going to be very interesting.
The question of the format is one of the biggest details that still needs to be worked out. In terms of the San Antonio Spurs, right now they're the 12th seed. What format would they benefit the most from this bubble theory and these teams returning to Orlando, Florida to carry on the regular season or the postseason?
Well, for our purposes, obviously, we'd love to have the Spurs make a run and keep that playoff streak alive, and all those different kind of things certainly play into what's happening as far as this discussion goes. In my view, the greatest thing, if you're a Spurs fan, is the whole idea of having a little round robin situation where you have maybe the 12 through 8 seeds have a play-in series for a few days leading up to the playoffs. And in that situation, the Spurs have a Hail Mary. They have an opportunity to go, hey, listen, we'll take on Portland and Memphis and everybody and get them and have the opportunity during a round robin of sorts to be able to earn that number 8 seed. If that was a situation where that's viable and they feel like they could do it, I don't think it's going to work out that way. I find it kind of interesting that it would, but the Spurs could make the playoffs. They could make that number 8 seed, and then you start the playoff series from that point on. But Jill, I tell you one thing is the one dynamic in my view, the one backdrop of this whole thing is the NBA's got to get going. They've got to get this thing not only worked out, but also they have to get the playoffs played. They have to crown their asterisk champion, whatever you want to call it, because they've got to get out of the way of football. They've just got to do it. By the end of August into September, by all indications, the NFL is going to play, college football is going to play. The money is so staggering with those sports compared to even the other sports that we're talking about that at that point, I tell you what, America's going to be captivated by football. They're not going to care about the NBA. They're not going to care about LeBron and his run for a championship, except for those regions that care about it, that actually have the teams. It's going to be one of those situations where you better get out of the way because you're going to get steamrolled in this by a pent-up demand for sports. People are going to love their football. You and I love football. The NBA is going to be an afterthought. I mean, Major League Baseball is going to be an afterthought. It's going to be very interesting to see in this new landscape where people are just going to burst out of, hey, sports is back. We're all over this, how football is going to dominate things. I really feel that in the fall.
That's an excellent point. The sooner the NBA can get the ball rolling on this bubble theory or whatever plan they come up with, the better, especially with that big monster that, oh yeah, football season right around the corner. Richard, thank you so much.